Good morning, second graders. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. Last week in one of my videos, I said my favorite part of distance learning was seeing all your work on Seesaw and hearing your voices and seeing your faces, and that's true. I do love that. But there's also another part of distance learning that I love, and that is doing my weekly check-in calls to you and your parents. It is so fun to call and check in. I make those calls on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And that's a time that I can ask you or your parents if you have any questions, how your learning's going, or even just to talk to you about other things besides your schoolwork. And I so love hearing your voice and talking to you. Since we can't connect in person, the phone calls are my way of connecting with you in a different way. And I love talking to each one of you so much. So if I call and you aren't home, feel free to call me back on my Google phone number because I would love to talk to you. I love to hear your voices. I love to hear what you've been doing. I love to hear what you like to do. I miss each one of you so much, and I look forward to talking to you each week. So please feel free, if I leave a message or if I call you when you're not home, call me back. I would love to hear you. Several of you have done that, and I love it when I get a phone call and I hear your voice saying, "Hi, Mrs. Lunning." So please feel free to do that if I try to reach out to you during the week and you're not home. All right, let's begin our reading today with our Magic Treehouse. We're going to continue and read chapters 7 and 8. So if you need to go ahead and grab your book, go ahead and do that. And while you're at it, grab your packet and a pencil, and we will begin reading the next two chapters. So when we finished our chapters yesterday, Annie was following a little bird into the woods. And so we're going to find out what that bird has to do with the story. And then at the very end of the chapter, the peanut butter jar was thumping against Jack's back. And the question we asked was, what does the peanut butter have to do with the story? Why is that mentioned in many of the chapters? And that's what you had to do yesterday, was to draw your prediction. So we're going to find out the answer to those questions, what the bird means and what the peanut butter means. So here we go, chapter 7. Hi there. The forest was cooler than the sunny plains. It was filled with shadows and bird calls. "Where are you?" Jack shouted. "Here," said Annie. He found her in a thick glade. Bright rays streamed between the trees. Green leaves and vines swayed in the dappled light. The little gray bird sat in a tree, twittering at them. "Yuck! What's that?" said Annie. She pointed at a round, brown thing hanging from a low branch. Bees buzzed around it. "If that's her nest, it's a pretty weird nest," said Annie. "That's not a nest," said Jack. "It's a beehive. Don't you see the bees?" "Yikes," said Annie. She stepped back from the tree, but the little bird darted at the beehive and pecked at it. "What's she doing?" said Annie. The bird kept pecking at the hive. "I don't know. Maybe she's as nuts as you," said Jack. "Look her up in the book," said Annie. "See if it says she's nuts." "Are you kidding?" said Jack. "That nutty bird isn't going to be in the book. Just look." I hope you're following along in your book as I'm reading. Jack opened his Africa book. He kept turning the pages, just as he thought. There was no gray bird in the book. "Forget it," he said. "Keep looking," said Annie. Jack turned one more page, and there it was, a little gray bird, a beehive, and a tall, painted warrior with a spear. "I don't believe this," said Jack. Then he read aloud. "This bird is called a honey guide. It's both a friend and a helper to the Maasai people, an African tribe known for their fierce fighting skills and bravery." So I'm going to take a minute and show you the picture that I found of a Maasai warrior. And they wear red because the color red represents power. And they are known in their tribe in Africa. They're known for their fierce fighting skills and bravery. We're going to find out what that has to do with anything. Hi, honey guide, Annie called to the bird. I knew you were important. Jack kept reading. The honey guide leads a Maasai tribesperson to a beehive. The bird waits for him or her to scatter the bees and take the honey. Then the bird feasts on the honeycomb. So that's why the bird is important. It's a honey guide and it leads the Maasai people to a beehive. That's cool, said Jack. They work together like the zebras and the wildebeests and the gazelles. Yeah, said Annie, and she wants us to be her helpers. We have to scatter the bees and leave her the honeycomb. How do we do that, said Jack. He looked back at the book. It didn't say how. Well, maybe we could wave those weeds at them, said Annie. She pointed to some bright green plants that looked like giant fans. Jack put his book and his backpack down. He and Annie pulled up the weeds. They waved them near the tree and the bees scattered. Next, Jack grabbed the tree branch and jiggled it. The hive fell to the ground and broke open. Annie stooped and stuck her finger into the golden honeycomb. Yummy, she said when she tasted the honey. Try it. So there they are in the picture, waving the plants to see if they can knock down the beehive. Jack stuck his finger in the honeycomb. He licked off the golden honey. It was the sweetest honey he had ever tasted. Now the honey guide can get to her honeycomb, said Annie. Yeah, but she'd better hurry before the bees come back, said Jack. It's weird, said Annie. Honey's so sweet and good, but to get to it, you have to go past a lot of dangerous bees. Oh, man, whispered Jack. That's it. That's what? Asked Annie. Jack said Morgan's riddle. I'm the color of gold and as sweet as can be, but beware of the danger that's all around me. What am I? I get it, Annie whispered. Honey. Honey, said Jack, nodding and smiling. That's it. We've answered Morgan's riddle. Let's go home. So how many of you in your packet on the page where you had to predict what you thought the riddle was about, how many of you said lions? That's what I would have predicted too, but we were wrong. It's honey. He stood up to leave. He gasped. Standing in the shadows was a tall man with a spear and a curved sword hanging from its belt. His face was painted in fierce, bright colors. Jack knew at once what he was. A Maasai warrior. Dun, dun, dun. Hi there, Annie said in a small voice. Chapter 8, Yum. The warrior stared back at Jack and Annie. We were helping one of your honey guides, said Annie. The warrior was as still as a statue. We didn't mean to steal anything, Jack said. In fact, it's all yours. We've had enough. Lots of good honey still there, Annie said, smiling. The warrior narrowed his eyes. That kind of means like he was kind of glaring at them. Is he angry? Jack wondered. I'm sorry we were trespassing, said Jack. We come in peace. In fact, we bring gifts. He picked up his backpack and held it out to the warrior. The warrior still didn't move. This? Jack held up his book. Nothing. Jack reached into his pack. He pulled out the big jar of peanut butter. Peanut butter! He pulled out the loaf of bread. Bread! Hey, how about a peanut butter and honey sandwich? Yum, Annie said, watching the warrior. The warrior stared at the food. We'll show you, said Jack. As Jack unwrapped the bread, his hands shook. Annie opened the jar. We don't have anything to spread it with, she said. Use your fingers, said Jack. Excuse me, Annie said to the warrior. I have to use my fingers, but they're pretty clean. An elephant just do it, Annie, said Jack. Okay. She spread the peanut butter onto a slice of bread with her fingers. At the same time, Jack spread the honey from the beehive on another slice. Jack and Annie put their pieces of bread together. Ta-da, said Annie, handing the sandwich to the warrior. I'll show you the picture. And they're handing the warrior their peanut butter and honey sandwich. The warrior took the sandwich, but he didn't eat it. He just looked at it. Let's make sandwiches for us too, Jack said, so he doesn't have to eat alone. They quickly made 2 more sandwiches. See? Like this, said Annie. She bit into her sandwich. Yum. Jack took a bite too. He said. It was really good. Finally, the warrior bit into his sandwich. He chewed slowly. This is called a picnic, said Annie. They ate their sandwiches in silence. When they finished, Jack screwed the lid back on the peanut butter jar. Not bad, huh? He said. The warrior smiled. He had a kind, dignified smile. Jack and Annie smiled back at him. Then the warrior turned gracefully and vanished into the trees. Oh man, said Jack. Part of him wanted to follow the silent warrior through the shadowy forest. Ready? Annie asked softly. Jack nodded. Annie started to go. Wait, said Jack. He put away the peanut butter and bread. We're going back to the treehouse, right? We're not going to do anything silly like rescue anything or chase birds, right? Those things aren't silly, said Annie. Don't forget that the bird gave us the answer to the riddle. Oh, right, said Jack. He looked at the little honey guide. She was on the ground, pecking at the honeycomb. Thanks, Jack said to the bird. Have a good feast, said Annie. Jack put on his pack. Then he and Annie started out of the forest. When they passed the pond, they saw the elephant still splashing in the water. He lifted his trunk. He seemed to be waving at them. See ya, Annie shouted, waving back. They rounded the bend in the river, then started through the tall grass. As they walked back toward the treehouse, they saw the wildebeests in the distance. There were still some crossing the river. They saw a family of zebras grazing together. They saw lone giraffes walking from tree to tree, eating the leaves. And they saw a bunch of lions sleeping in the shade of a tree. The same tree that the treehouse was in. Whoops, said Annie. Jack's heart gave a jump. So there they are, he said. And that's the end of chapter 8. Once again, it ended on a cliffhanger, didn't it? So how do you suppose they're going to get up to the treehouse when the lions are sitting right at the bottom of the treehouse next to the tree? We'll find out tomorrow. All right, today on your matrix, the 28th, it says, read the chapters 7 and 8 of Lions at Lunchtime. Finish page 10 by writing if your prediction drawing was correct or incorrect and explain. So you're going to start by saying, my prediction was either correct or incorrect because, and then you have to tell me why. Okay, so that was this page right here. You should already have a picture here. And then today, you're going to use these lines and you're going to start by saying, my prediction was correct because, and tell me why. Or, my prediction was incorrect because. You can't just say that it was correct or incorrect. You have to tell me why. Okay? So go ahead and write. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, so you should be able to write enough to fill up at least 3 lines if you're using a complete sentence. So start with a capital M and make sure at the end you end with a period. And we will be finishing our book tomorrow. Now remember, you're going to promise no reading ahead. Okay, no reading ahead. So good luck with your reading must-do today. And now we are going to start on our math. So we'll show you the math matrix one more time. Look at math this time. So yesterday we were finishing lesson 5, and then we were going to skip lesson 6, and today we're going to start lesson 7. So if you need to go ahead and pause the video and grab your math packet and a pencil, go ahead and do that, and we will begin to look at yesterday's assignment. All right, these were the answers to yesterday's problems. You had to do independent practice page 4 through 12. And so we are going to go over those answers pretty quickly. Number 4, what color hair do 5 students have? And you should have put brown because that had the longest bar. Number 5, what color hair do 4 students have? And that was blonde. Number 6, what 2 hair colors do the same number of students have? And that was black and red because those were the 2 that had the same size bar. And number 7, how many students were surveyed? And you should have come up with 15. And you could have figured that out 2 different ways. You could have counted each box and gotten 15, or you could have done 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, and that would have equaled 15 as well. Number 8, I already told you that answer if you were watched the video yesterday. So we'll skip to number 9. Number 9, which pet do most students have? And that was on this graph, and it was dog. The longer the bar, the more there are. Number 10, which 2 pets do the fewest students have? And that was cat and bird. They had the shortest bars. And how many students have cats and birds? So you needed to do 3 plus 3 equals 6. So hopefully you got those right. If not, go ahead and correct your mistakes. And on the back, this was another bar graph about your favorite activity. So we have playing video games, playing outside, reading, and board games. So how many more people liked reading or board games than playing video games? So we knew that reading was 4 and board games was 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And then video games was 3. And so we had to do 4 plus 2 is 6. And how many more? You should have been going ding, 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 subtract. So you had to subtract those playing video games. So 6 minus 3, you should have gotten 3. And the brain builders we'll go over, even if you didn't do those. Some of you, I hope, did. So we'll go over those fast. Samantha also chooses an activity. Then 3 activities are the favorite of the same number of people. Which activity did she choose? And hopefully, before we did this right here, if she would have chosen 1 more to have it be the same, those 3 bars were the same. So you should have put video games. And number 14, 10 more people were surveyed for the graph above. 3 people liked board games, 3 more liked video games, the rest liked playing outside. So if there were 10 people surveyed and 3 plus 3, they already told you what those 6 people liked. So 10 minus 6 left you with 4, and those 4 liked playing outside. It says now how many people like each activity. So you'd go up above, and it told you that 3 more liked board games, so we colored in 3 more for board games. 3 more liked video games, so that meant it went off the chart, didn't it? So that means that was an extra there. And then it said the rest liked playing outside. So there's your 4. When you subtracted 10 minus 6 and got 4, those 4 liked playing outside. So here they are right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then you had to say how many people liked each activity. So you should have had video games equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Playing outside equals 8. There was 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8. Reading was 4. And board games was 5. So hopefully that's what you wrote on the bottom. Okay, great job. Thank you to those of you who did the brain builders. Good job. All right, now today we are going to start lesson 7 and we are going to make line plots. And our essential question is, how can I record and analyze data? And that's, we talked about tally charts, we've talked about picture charts, and we've talked about bar graphs. And so now we're going to do line plots, which is actually pretty cool. In this new curriculum, they teach second graders about line plots, and I don't think that that's happened before in second grade that I've taught in the last curriculum. So you're going to be extra smart with this one, aren't you? You might be wondering, what is a line plot? And a line plot is a number line that has X's above the numbers. And those X's stand for the answers to a survey question. And each X stands for one answer. Okay, so we are on page 567, lesson 7. And this is the Math in My World page. So we always read the bottom and we do this together. So Chase asked 10 students how many servings of fruit and vegetables they eat each day. 3 people eat 2 servings, and so you have to draw 3 X's over the number 2. 6 people eat 5 servings, so draw 6 X's over the number 5. And 1 person eats 7 servings. Draw 1 X over the number 7. Holy cow, that's a lot of words, isn't it? So we're going to break it down a little, and we're just going to take it step by step. Okay, so he asked 10 people. So we're going to end up with 10 X's somewhere along our line plot. Okay, so we're just going to take it step by step. First, it says 3 people eat 2 servings. Okay, so you're going to take the number 2 because that means 2 servings of vegetables. And we're just going to put a little X above the 2. And when you make your X's, they have to be pretty small because you don't want them to go into the number 1 and you don't want them to be big enough to go into the number 3. They have to be pretty little with a little bit of space in between each one so that you can see that there are 2 X's. So go ahead and take your pencil and draw those with me. You can do this side of it with me right now. Okay, now we're done with that. Then it says 6 people eat 5 servings. So we have to draw 6 X's over the number 5. So here's 5. That means 5 servings of vegetables. And it said 6 people eat 5 servings each day. So we're going to draw 6 X's. And we're going to try to line them up in a nice space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and notice how these are kind of right across from each other. Kind of space them out evenly. All right. Then it says 1 person eats 7 servings. So draw 1 X over the number 7. So here's 7. That means that 1 person eats 7 servings. Wow, they must be pretty healthy, huh? All right, so that is how you draw your X's on a line plot. And we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Uh-oh, did we make another mistake? Let's see. Oh, 3 people eat 2 servings. Whoopsie. My mistake. Good thing we counted to know. Now we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. Now we fixed it. It's a good thing I double checked my work, isn't it? So those 10 X's stand for the 10 students that were surveyed. Okay? So then we can ask some questions. How many students eat 5 servings each day? So you go to the 5 and you can count each X, and that means 6 students eat 5 servings each day. And how many students eat 7 servings? And that was 1. And then how many eat 2 servings of vegetables? And that was 3 students. Okay? All right, and altogether there were 10 people surveyed because there's 10 X's. And that's a good thing we went back and looked at that because that's how Mrs. Lunning found her mistake, right? I missed one. Okay, so on the back, we are going to do our guided practice page. And it says at the top, a line plot is a way to organize data. Line plots are used to see how often a certain number occurs in data. So on this side, we could see that the servings that were most eaten were 5 servings because most students ate 5 servings of fruits and vegetables each day. And that's why you make a line plot. Okay, so this one says, Mr. Sun's students marked their ages on a tally chart. They made a line plot using the data. Okay, so right here is his students. So his students were either ages 7, ages 8, or ages 9. And this tally chart helps you know how many X's to put on the line plot. So some of them were age 7. How many? 3. So we're going to go to the 7, and we're going to write 3 X's. Just kind of small like that. Okay? And then these number of students were 8. So this has a diagonal line that's closing the gate. That means you know it's 5. Okay, so we go to number 8 because they're 8 years old. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So go ahead and draw these with me. And then 2 students were 9. So 1, 2. Okay, just like that. So you are going to do the same thing on your assignment today for numbers 1 and 2. So you're going to use the tally chart to make a line plot, just like I did. So look at the tallies. If there's 1 pet, you make that number of tallies above 1, and then 2, 3, and 4. Okay? And then you're going to do that down here again with sisters. So your assignment today on your matrix tells you to do guided practice numbers 1 and 2 on page 568. Tell a family member your answer to the talk math question. So there you go. There's 1 and there's 2. And then the talk math says, how are line plots similar to tally charts? So tell a family member your answer to that. So good luck. I know you'll do a great job. Have a wonderful day, and I will be back with you tomorrow. Bye.